So we are going to use almond flour, and I will talk to you about almond flour and almond meal when we start cooking. Some coconut flour, eggs, mayonnaise. Don't let that scare you. You will never be able to detect mayonnaise in there. Some baking powder, some vanilla essence, and some sugar-free sweetener, which is optional. The whole point of this diet is to be on a clean eating spree and not eating artificial stuff. So it's very important to keep that in mind. So in my house, this is more of a treat. This is for one of those days when, one, I don't know what to cook, and two, when I'm craving something sweet. And I have made some raspberry jam here, and I will tell you how you can do that. But you could also buy sugar-free kind, but again, that would have aspartame, and I'm not a big fan of that. And we are going to use some sugar-free maple syrup, but you could use a real one or completely skip that. So now let's start cooking. So I have 2 eggs here, and I'm going to crack that in a bowl. Leave the shell out. And like with any waffle recipe, I'm going to first add all my wet ingredients. I'm going to add the mayonnaise here. Now, when you're buying mayonnaise in the store, look for mayonnaise made with olive oil. To be honest with you, making your own mayonnaise is pretty easy. It took me 1 or 2 tries to get it really right, and I realized the trick is in drizzling the oil in the egg yolk very, very slowly. If you try to rush that, it doesn't work. Some of the YouTube blogs talked about putting it in a blender and then doing it. It kind of didn't work for me. I would rather use my muscle here to to get that going. So here you go. Here is my mayonnaise and egg. Now I'm going to add a little sweetener. You could even use stevia, by the way, to make it a little bit sweet. I would completely stay away from stuff that has aspartame. So that's for the wet ingredients. Now I have some almond flour here. Now the way almond flour is different from almond meal is, almond meal has the brown skin still on top of it. So it has a little bit more brown color to it, and it is not as fine, not as powdery as almond flour here. So if you're in a pinch and you have almond meal, go for it, it's fine. So I'm going to add 1/4 cup of almond flour here. And then I have some coconut powder, coconut flour. Coconut flour is pretty high in fiber. Coconut flour is very high in carbs, but it has a lot of fiber in it. So the net carb is much lesser in coconut flour, but it is still high in carb. So you have to go easy on it. The fun thing about coconut flour is that it expands the moment you put it in any kind of liquid. So it's going to give it a thicker consistency. And I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And my waffle iron is getting hot here. And to this, I'm going to add vanilla. And I'm going to add more than what you normally would because it would taste very eggy. We have mayonnaise, we have eggs, which makes it high in protein and fat. And that's the idea today. And the funny thing about this diet is a lot of people look at me and ask me with a very big concerned look, what do you eat? Oh, I eat a lot, and I eat a lot of protein and a lot of fat. And honestly, I don't feel deprived at all. So there you go. This is our waffle batter, and my iron is screaming hot. Oh, look at that smoke. Your best friend in this whole scenario? Non-stick spray, because you will not be happy when that egg sticks to your waffle iron. So I'm going to spray this pretty generously. You could use butter with a brush to do that, but I'm just going to go with the non-stick spray. And I am going to. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to overfill it because it will expand more than your usual waffle, and the raw egg starts oozing out, and that is not good, and it is not delicious either. So it just took us less than 2 minutes, and look at that beauty. Oh, I'm gonna have a waffle. Look at that. Will you believe it if I said there is no flour in there? And then what I love to do is take some raspberry jam. So what you do, just take some fresh or frozen raspberries, and put about 2 tablespoons of warm water in 1 cup of raspberries. Put some chia seeds, and chia seeds thicken your raspberry jam like sugar would do. And just add some artificial sweetener like stevia in there and just run it in your blender. And when it cools off, give it 5 minutes, the chia seeds will thicken it. And that would be your homemade raspberry jam. Today I'm not using the chia seed version, but that's a fantastic way. And then, so a secret weapon for our waffles today, some whipped cream. And yes, I'm using the canned kinds. I'm being completely lazy and I'm not whipping my homemade whipped cream because 2 tablespoons has only 1 gram of carb, and I can live with that. So I had to do that. And some maple syrup. And people, here is a delicious treat. Honestly, I eat that for dinner sometimes. When I'm watching TV and I want to have something sweet, this is what I go for, because it took me 2 minutes and 1 bowl to bring this all together. So I got you covered with waffles, and now let's start thinking about dinner. And when I think of dinner, what better than pizza? And yes, I'm talking about low carb, high fat pizza. So let's get cooking.